Welcome back to the Aubergine Chef. Now, lately I've been doing a lot of cakes, and this week I want to kind of take it easy and just pull back a little bit. I actually got a request from my friend Deanna. She was the one I made her wedding cake for a while back in November, I think it was November. And so she is trying to get into baking. She's interested in taking some of my classes, but it's kind of a long drive for her. So she usually asks me tips here and there, and she asked me, hey, can you do an episode on cupcakes, and can you show me how to fill cupcakes? And I was like, oh, that's really, really easy, but if you want, I'd definitely be happy to show you how to do that. So here we are. We're going to make orange blossom cupcakes. It's a very easy recipe. Most of the recipes included in this recipe I've already done on the website. We're going to make the yellow butter cake. I like this recipe because it's very easy, and because it uses yolks, we can use the whites for the icing on top. So it's like no waste, which is nice. We're also going to use a new recipe. It's the orange custard filling recipe, which we're going to use to fill it. And for those other than Deanna, you could enjoy these cupcakes for spring. I think they're a very light, nice, airy dessert with a nice citrus filling. So it's kind of a nice spring dessert as well, just like the spring cake. So one of the major things I'm going to be using is orange blossom water, and it's not a super powerful ingredient in terms of flavoring, but it does have a nice light airy orange flavor. I seem to be using the same terms over and over again to describe stuff, but it's true. It's pretty popular in Europe and in parts of the Middle East and South Asia. So, and I haven't really used it too much. I think the last time I used it was to make panettone, I think. I always forget which one of those European dishes it's used in. But I've had it in here since I've used it last, so I decided to give it a try and go ahead and use it up. So we're going to be using that a little bit in the cake along with vanilla extract, and I'm going to be using it a little bit for the Swiss buttercream icing. Now, I already have a really good episode on making Swiss buttercream, so if you click the button on your screen, you can pop over and see how to make that real quick, and then pop right back. I'm not going to do Swiss buttercream in my video shoots anymore, which is going to help me out because I don't have to film that part of it. I can just get the icing done and then move on to the decorating. So, but anyway, why don't we go ahead and get started. For the yellow cake, we're going to do the standard recipe. So we need 6 egg yolks and 8.5 ounces of whole milk, an eighth of an ounce of vanilla extract, and as well as an eighth of an ounce of orange blossom water, 10.5 ounces of all-purpose flour, 10.5 ounces of granulated sugar, 19 grams of baking powder, pinch of salt, and 6 ounces of butter at room temperature. Now, if you can get all of your ingredients to room temperature, that's great. So the first thing you need to do is take 2 ounces of your whole milk and add that to your egg yolks, along with your vanilla extract and your orange blossom water if you're using that, and just whisk that together or mix it together. Then you want to get all of your dry ingredients sifted together onto your mixer. And the reason you sift it is to break up any chunks as well as slightly aerate and mix your ingredients. It's very, very important to break up those chunks, especially like in baking powder and granulated sugar too. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to take the rest of our milk. So we had 2 ounces in our yolks, so 6.5 ounces is going into the butter, or into the flour and the dry ingredients, along with the 6 ounces of butter. Okay, we just want to mix everything together on low speed until it comes together and it's nice and moistened. Okay, we're going to increase it to medium speed now and mix it for about 1.5 minutes. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add in our yolk, milk, and flavoring mixture. This time I used vanilla extract and orange blossom water. We're going to add that a little at a time, mixing on low to medium speed. Okay, once all your egg yolks are added, go ahead and scrape down the sides of your bowl and then give it a good blast on high speed just to make sure everything is nice and mixed together. Okay, so after you come off the mixer, go ahead and give it a few good stirs with your rubber spatula, making sure to check if there's anything stuck to the bottom or the sides. This dough, or this batter, tends to get a little bit sticky on the bottom and on the sides, so make sure you scrape it real good and then stir that in real good. Other than that, it's a pretty easy recipe. So all we need to do now is fill our cupcake molds about 3/4 of the way up. You don't want to go all the way up with these because this batter tends to rise. a lot, but not just up. It also tends to spread a lot because of all that butter. So by only filling it about 3/4 of the way up, we make sure that we get a more rise, hopefully, than spread. Okay, and then once you're finished filling all your cupcake molds, you should get about 24 of them. Go ahead and put them into a 300 to 350 degree oven for about 20 minutes or so. Just test them to see if they're done. Stick a toothpick or a knife into the center of one of the cupcakes. If it comes out clean, then they're finished. And just go ahead and take them out and let them cool off completely. Okay, so our cupcakes came out of the oven. So the next thing we need to do is make our orange custard filling. In this pot, I have 8 ounces of water, 2 ounces of granulated sugar, and then the peel of 1 orange. And try to get as little of the white as possible. I know some parts have more white than other. The white part's called the pith, and that's pretty bitter. But if you have some, it's not a huge deal. It's the peel what we're looking for all that nice flavor. Then in this bowl, I have 2 egg yolks mixed together with 1/2 ounce cornstarch, 1 ounce of orange juice, and 2 ounces of granulated sugar. Now when you're putting that all together, put together the cornstarch and the granulated sugar first and give that a good mix with a fork or something. Then add in your orange juice and your egg yolks. And what that does is it helps make it a little bit easier for the cornstarch to come together. Otherwise you're going to have to stir it for a little bit longer. Not a big deal if you don't, just a little tip to speed things along. So the next thing you want to do is bring this pot of water, sugar, and orange peel to a boil. Okay, once that comes to a boil, go ahead and temper your egg yolks. And what we're doing is we're just going to slowly and steadily whisk the egg yolk mixture while we add the boiling water. And this helps warm up the egg yolks to the temperature of the water without cooking the egg yolks. So otherwise you would get orange scrambled eggs. Okay, get rid of the orange zest. Reduce the heat on your stove to about medium, and then bring your mixture back to the pot. Now the reason we reduce the heat to about medium-high is because we want to cook it, but we don't want to burn it. And sometimes if you cook it on high, it tends to burn it. What we're doing is we're going to bring it to another boil, a gentle boil this time, and we're going to cook the cornstarch. And normally for cornstarch to activate, you need to cook it for about 1 to 3 minutes at about boiling temperature. As it heats up, it's going to get really, really thick really quickly. Then we want to push it for a little bit longer because we want to make sure to cook out that starchy flavor. Okay, go ahead and pour the filling into a separate bowl. And then if you want, you can add in a touch of orange food coloring and just a splash of orange blossom water to help enhance the orange flavor. Alright, and I'm just going to chill this until it's cooled off and we can use it. So basically it's too hot right now, so we want to cool it off all the way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make the flowers that I made on top of my, for the top of my cupcakes. I'm using a 120 Ateco tip. The Wilton equivalent is a 59 degrees tip. And so I'm still learning how to do these flowers. If you remember from an episode a while ago, my friend Josie is teaching Wilton classes, and I decided to take them just to see what's going on. And I saw these flowers, and we did them, and I just thought they were the cutest flowers, and they're pretty easy to make, but I'm still getting the hang of doing it nicely each time. I can make buttercream roses pretty easily, but these ones I still need a little bit more practice on. But I'll show you how to do them. So take your rose nail with a little bit of parchment paper on top. That's going to make it easier for us to move them. And you want to make sure that you're holding your rose nail so that way when you unroll it, it's moving counterclockwise. So counterclockwise would be this way. Okay, so hold your tip at a 45-degree angle with the wide end touching the middle of the rose nail and the thinner end pointing towards away from you. And you just want to start piping while unrolling your fingers to create the first petal. And then you want to create 2 smaller petals on top of that using the same technique. And that's pretty much it. This is a variation of the violet. And like I said, I have a piece of parchment paper on my rose nail. And you want to have your rose nail your fingers ready to turn the rose nail counterclockwise as you're working. That's how I found it. That's what's the easiest. So you want to hold your 120 Ateco tip, or your, I guess it's a 59 degree Wilton tip. You want to hold it at a 45 degree angle so that the wide end is touching the center of the tip and the smaller end is both pointing away from you, and it's about 1/8 of an inch off the rose nail. Then you want to start squeezing, moving up and then back down while you're turning the rose nail. And then you want to pipe 2 smaller petals using the same motion. And then that's your violet. And that's pretty much it. We're going to pipe a little center, a yellow center, but other than that, we're pretty much finished. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to freeze these because it's buttercream. It's not royal icing, so it won't dry hard. So we're going to freeze them so that way it's easier to move onto the cupcakes. Okay, so to fill the cupcakes, you're going to need to use a piping tip. Now I'm using a 231 tip. I think it's by Ateco. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a specialty tip. As you can see, it's got a long, narrow end that we use to fill the cupcakes. Now you can use a straight tip like an 800 or 801 Ateco tip, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult and you're more likely to damage the cupcake. Now that being said, you're probably going to ice it on top, so it's not going to be as seen so much. So all you need to do, and I colored it really bright so that way you can see it when we go in, when I do a cross section of the cupcake. You don't normally want to color your filling this bright, but like I said, I wanted it to stand out. So all you need to do is go into your cupcake, squeeze gently, and then just keep squeezing as you move up, and right as you get to the surface, stop squeezing, and then let go. And it'll probably spurt back a little bit, and you just want to use a paper towel or something to wipe off that little drop that comes back up. But we're going to go ahead and just cut this one open. And you can see that it filled the cupcake pretty good amount too. Alright, so to finish off the cupcakes, I'm going to use a Wilton 234 tip, which is basically a grass tip. And I'm just going to create a grassy surface. So you just kind of want to hold it about 1/8 of an inch to 1/2 an inch off the cupcake, and you just want to squeeze and cover up as much of the cupcake as you can. Alright, so I froze my orange blossoms or violets or whatever you want to call them. They're just big violets, remember, on the parchment paper circle or squares for about 30 minutes to 60 minutes, so they're nice and firm. And I can just pick them up and put them down. Makes it easier. Now they're not going to hold their shape perfectly as they thaw out, but it's definitely going to still look like a flower. Then I have some yellow. Now I forgot to reserve some of my icing to make it yellow, so I had to turn some of the orange yellow. That's why it's so bright. But normally you don't want it to be that bright. And I'm just going to pipe a dot right in the center. And that's our orange blossom cupcake. Alright, so that's just basically how you do the orange blossom cupcakes, including filling a cupcake and then some simple cupcake decorations, especially for spring and Easter. For Easter, you could put like a peep on top, or some of those candied eggs. I think they're malted milk balls and they're like eggs. You can put those on top. It's very, very easy to make a more Easter theme. I love the grass tip for this time of year. It's very easy to do. And again, the Swiss buttercream is a very easy recipe to do. So, Dina, I hope this answers your question about how to fill cupcakes. Thank you all for watching. I hope you learned a lot today. And remember, the Aubergine Chef, demystifying dessert, one recipe at a time.